native culture, we always accept the start people. They've always come and visited, and they've always helped. They've never tried to erase our culture, destroy, or do things to us. They've always benefited us in different ways. And there's different kinds of beings. And some people who seek power, they seek the negative. And this is where, when you're doing spiritual things, you think of the fourth dimension as being a big minefield. There's millions and millions of things there. And the universe has been evolving. So there's this big plane of existence that you can go into. And whatever's in your heart, you're going to attract certain kinds of things that are going to want to lead you or become a Jesus or become some sort of thing that you'll follow in. And it'll try to give you information in many different forms to see where it can get you to, or if you're using your discernment. And if it's seeking power and it wants to be worshipped, it's going to try to lead you. So this is where you got to question a lot of things. And the idea is, when you meditate, you're in a ball like this, and you're sitting there, and there's a ladder that climbs above you. There's a ladder that climbs below you. There's a ladder that goes out to your right. There's a ladder that goes out to your left. Each one of these, like this one, is just going to keep taking you higher. There's a place here, that's the fourth dimension, that you have to navigate through. Once you do that, you pop through to this higher plane where you're just connected. This is what masters, teachers, guides, shamans, and other things. This is where, in native cultures, the shaman goes into the fourth dimension to see where people are trapped or lost, or if spirits or things are affecting people. They learn how to navigate and go in there and try to disconnect these things to help the person to find whatever he's seeking. So they're willing to go in there. That's their job. And they're not going in there believing they're powerful, because they know there's a lot of things in there that can do all kinds of crazy things. So they just go in there with respect, and they're getting help with the universe to untangle some stuff and try to help that person to move forward. That's what a shaman does. But they also connect with the earth, the plants, guides, spirits, and other things that sort of help them to assist other people. And a lot of people, they go into yoga and they activate these things. They go up in this way, they go right this way, they go left this way, they go down this way. And they don't know. They're just going up in these different planes. Some of them bring them way over here for a while. They're super, super excited. And they're like just so wide open. And then they go, oh, they get scared. They pull back in. They climb here again. And if you want the desire of power, so you're here, you climb, say, 20 steps up here, and you got that desire for power, somewhere it's going to pull you this way, or it's going to just bring you back down here and get you stuck. So the idea is to keep climbing, keep wanting to connect with the true source, the true truth of who you are, because your oversoul will guide you. It will get you there. And that's the thing with information and knowledge. It can send you all over. And like I say, on the right side, there's really, really lots of stuff. On the left side, the one below is always the lower. The more angry and aggressive and more you want power, it's going to take you down, and it's going to take you down this way. It's not going to take you into the light. And there are beings that will come and they'll find lots of ways to make you believe you have this power. So the idea is, that's why they say climbing Jacob's ladder. There's lots of different things in other cultures of trying to have your focus to get into this highest light. And Damon T. Berry, in his story, he's just revealing a lot of that stuff. And Corey has some friends who've experienced different things like that. But where is it they are in the fourth dimension? That's always the question. Because there's a lot of things coming to them. And some of them can make them do all kinds of magical things, know all kinds of things, all kinds of stuff can happen. And then there's other ones that come in and challenge, maybe scare or distort things or make crazy things happen. So they're wide open. That's like the schizophrenic. It's the same thing. The schizophrenic is wide open to the fourth plane, and they're just spirits and things coming in. Some are screaming. Like I had a cousin back home when I was young, and he was schizophrenic. And this voice every day would tell him, just kill yourself. God's going to kill you anyways. And he would hear this all day. And it'd say, take 2 butter knives, stick stick it in your eyes and fall forwards and just kill yourself. God's going to kill you anyway. And he would hear this all the time. And he would be in and out of the psych ward because he was open so big to the spirit world, and he was aware of so many things and all kinds of stuff, but he was so terrified. And he couldn't control his fear. And when you can't control your fear, you attract these things that want to mess with you. They want to somehow steer you in different ways. So you have to go, well, why am I afraid? I've been alive all this time and everything has been around me. There's UFOs and things going by here all the time, whether we see them or not. There's other beings coming and going. They've been that way ever since you were born. How come they haven't annihilated you or taken out this planet yet? Because that's not something. There are good things there, and there's only certain kinds of laws they can break and get away with. So the whole teachings in life is to attract these higher things. Search for the good. Ooh, there's bad. I'm going to search for the bad. I want to know about the bad. Well, you're going to attract it all. But the bad is going to go, now we can play and have fun. But if you're searching for the light, somewhere that light's going to come in and the bad ones are going to back away. More and more and more they will, even in the fourth dimension. They will back away once you get to a certain energy, and you'll break through and you'll just be connected to the divine all the time. So that is the biggest and hardest one. Like me and Cindy, we discuss and talk about many of these things. And I've been taking some of these things in my past where it really scared me. I didn't have somebody to go to or guide or teach me. I'm like, okay, I'm afraid. I don't understand this. So I'm going into my prayers. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to pray. I'm going to ask for answers until I receive them. So I just stay at it. Even in my fears, I'm like, nope. I know I'm going to make it through this. The universe has always protected me. It's always been there. It's never lied to me, and it's always given me the truth and the answer. So I want to know what this, and it's not about me fighting with things. When I go to places, if there are negative spirits or people that have been using sorcery or Ouija boards, I don't go in there thinking I'm going to war. I go in there with absolute respect. Whatever these spirits are, they can hurt you. They can mess with you. And I don't want them coming home and challenging me. So I go in there and I'm like, I'm going to call in God, because God is the one that is first. They cannot do anything. And then I'll invite whoever is there that's going to work with me and whoever's going to protect everybody around. And then I'll start trying to find a way to talk to them and say, we want to release you. If you're stuck here and you want to go back into your dimension, well, we're going to see if we can get you there. But whatever needs to go on, we're going to have a peace. We're going to take out the peace pipe. We're going to smoke, and we're going to come to an agreement that this can change and things can turn out good. And then after that, they will either release and go on, or they're going to stay for a while to see if they can still manipulate and scare. Because once they release, something good will come in because you asked for it. Whenever I do something, I always ask the negative out, the positive in. So whatever is there, it's going to anchor and it's going to change everything. So the fourth dimension is one of the biggest ones. And like I say, there's many distortions, and it's, you have to be the master of your mind. You have to realize that you can get past this and you can change that reality.
So then it's good to question things. And,
always.
And it was like, Joe asked me this question yesterday. He's like, Cindy, if this voice came to you and said to you, sing this tune, and when you sing this tune, you're going to change and heal everybody in this city. And he's like, would you do it? And I was like, yeah, I would. And he's just sitting there all quiet, waiting for me. And he's like, but what if it throws things off its balance or whatever? He's like, question it. Like, question it 3 times. So what would happen if I sang this tune? How would it change things? Would it help people? Really understand, take time to think about these things and question these things before you go into it. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. You know, it gets so exciting at the thought, you know, there's some kind of being here and it says, sing this tune, it's going to heal everybody. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to heal everybody. You sing the tune and you just screwed it all up.
So why are you doing it, right? Are you doing it just to get attention, or is it power? Because when you think you're altering 35,000 people's lives, do you really have that right to literally enforce that change on 35,000 people? I don't think so. So you have to really, really discern. Am I going to do this? Is it really, really the right thing? Because when I do it, I'm really praying that I've done this. It was absolutely for the right reasons, and there's no karma, and I didn't infringe on something that I didn't have a right to do. And this is where questioning and thinking, and people want to jump into things really, really fast. I have gone into things sometimes for over 5 years, and all I did was study. Everybody's saying, oh, do this, do that. I'm watching, and I'm like, something inside me is saying, being very careful, because there is something here that doesn't fit in and it doesn't seem to work. And then over the 5 years, I see all these things happening to people, and I'm like, something is wrong, because if this was good, these things wouldn't be happening to people. There's something here that's distorted, but it's making them believe it's something really, really big, and they're not caring, because it's just like having a chocolate bar. You eat that chocolate bar, you know it's not good, but you get this really nice, exciting energy. It feels really good, stimulates your mind and your body and everything, and then it burns out. And some people, they get into practicing spiritual things, and something appears, and all of a sudden, whoa, this is like, awesome. And somebody's like, oh yeah, come over here and I'll teach you all of this. And you can do all this stuff. And people just jump into it. It's just like hotcakes, man. You just best hotcakes on planet, and everybody's coming to gobble up your hotcakes. And people are stopping themselves, and they're getting gas, and they're not feeling good, but God, I gotta eat all these hotcakes, and things are going nuts on them. So this is where you have to discern and question and really, really allow yourself to think this through before you just jump in. And you have to step back. And those parts are really important. And I spent a lot of my time doing this in life. I went into things wanting to know, but there's still some things I'm still studying. I'm still looking at, trying to figure out how and why they work and what are they truly connected to. Because I see good things happen, but then I see crazy things happen. And there's a fine line. Is it the person who's distorting it, causing negative things? And is it really, truly good and it needs to be done in a certain way? Or does it bring in the good for a while and then eventually everything just goes crazy? So I'm still trying to look at some things, because I don't know fully where it comes from and why it does that. But I'm hoping one day to have that answer so I can share it with people.
Joe, is there something you could suggest for, like an untrained person to go into in those moments? Because those moments are powerful. Like, you're just like so excited. It's like an adrenaline rush when you get such interesting information and you want to go down the rabbit hole so bad. Like, I know this, I've done it many, many times, still do it. But like, how to pull yourself back and to question it.
I don't know. See, everything in the spirit world is like going to the scariest roller coaster ride on the planet. Are you going to get on and go for the ride just because it's right there in the moment? Or are you going to wait and think about it and go, well, when I'm ready, I think I'll get on it and I'll ride it and I'll have a really good experience. So somewhere you have to have where you strap yourself in and you really think about it. You slow it down. It's like, why do I want to do this right now? Can I wait a week? Can I wait a month? Can I wait 2 months? Is it really that important to instantaneously just do it because it's right there? And that's where it helps you to prevent things going on, because once you send that ripple out in that energy, it's going to pull you. It's going to teach and show you things.
Helping it to slow down so that I can see and understand it clearer. So if you have that phrase sort of at your fingertips when you are going into something new, okay, guys, slow it down. Help me to see this clearly. What am I learning here? Because there's so many layers of the learning. Like, for the example, the original start of this conversation was Damon Barry's last word. And I watched the first episode again. I think it's the third or second time I watched it. And I heard things differently the second time. I was like, oh, Oh, now I understand it differently than I did the first time I listened to it. Because the first time it was just really like, holy cow, I'm understanding the spirit world in a totally different way, and I understand what Joe talks about and what Joe goes through so much better having heard it from somebody else. But then the second time I listened to it, I understood that there's this energy that's was placed around him. It was like a robe of light that was put around him, and that took me down a different thought process. So it's like even re-listening to some of the things or experiencing things and just having to go in it with a different perspective, see what more you can learn in it and see what you can pick up on it. Formulate your own opinions, your own experience, your own beliefs. And that's where beliefs is really strong and important. You want this belief. Your beliefs can, they're like the energy that attracts things. So it will bring to you what it is that you want to believe. So let's just say that the 5G towers. Yeah. Okay. The science behind it, it's not healthy for people to be under. And the more that you're like really believing in it, it's at the forefront of your mind, you're just going to see 5G towers everywhere. All that keeps populating on your feed. And I was saying how we were like the TikTok algorithm. So don't spend too much time on that TikTok video if you don't want to see more of those kinds of videos, right? So our lives and our brains, our thoughts are like that algorithm, and it will attract to you more of that same feed.
So here's the book. This is the Keys of Enoch. There is so much knowledge in that. And I got this book years ago. So there's a picture in here of the light you're trying to get to, the human you're down here, and the negative energy you're trying to get through. And in this book, it has really, really lots of knowledge about the ancient past, what is positive, what is trying to interfere, what's trying to stop people from growing. And there's also knowledge of where there are very powerful sacred sites on the planet. And what eventually we're trying to eventually end up being is like this person here is connected to the universe, to the earth, to every last thing. And like I say, this goes into the ancient past. This goes into really lots of stuff, and it really breaks things down. I read this book once. I was like, wow, this like was when I bought it. People say this book is really hard to read. I read it in a couple of weeks. And afterwards, I met this one woman, and she says, I have only read like maybe 20 pages or so in 6 months. And she said it was just way too much, where, like I say, I just blew through it. And then I questioned the book because I'm like, okay, is there truth in this? Is it real truth? I read it over 7 times, and I still believe I'm going to go back and read it again. Mm-hmm. But there is a lot of hidden things, and I've questioned this book many times, and it is revealed and shown and taught me many, many things. It was channeled from the universe. Same with Urantia. If you really want to know about the universe and how it grew and all the galaxies and the hundreds of millions of other angels and all kinds of other stuff, Urantia has all of that. I read that one. I sort of did it with many other books. I read Urantia over 6 months because I was studying and looking at many other things. So I'd break up a little bit of one day and I just read a little bit here and I put it down. So, but Urantia goes right from the beginning of creation right up to now. And in Urantia, there's a part where it prophesizes our time and when all these masters like Jesus, Buddha, and then come back. And it talks about a prophecy in there that will be fulfilled. But this is where I've always questioned. I've read over 5 different Bibles. I've read the Nag Hammadi. I've read Dead Sea Scrolls. I've read lots and lots of things questioning the Bible. And I found many, many answers in different ways. And sometimes when I didn't understand and know or want to believe something, I'm like, okay, I want you to prove this to me. Somehow you're going to find a way to prove this to me. And it was one time I'm like, I want 3 people somewhere in the weirdest of circumstances to show up in my life and just channel a message and give me this answer. So I asked, and it was shortly after that, I was sitting in a mall and it was this strange guy walking by, and he just looks at me and says, "Can I sit down?" I'm like, "It's not my table. It's like a public place. You want to sit down, go right ahead." He said, "Well, I'm going to get a coffee and I have to tell you something." And I'm like, "Okay, this guy is a little strange, but yeah, sure." So he comes back, puts his coffee down, and then he says, "This is what I've been shown, and this has been coming to me for a while." So he started telling me all this stuff, and I'm like, "Whoa, this is just what I asked not long ago about. This is me making this up, or is this real?" So he told me what he had seen and all this stuff. And when he was finished, he just jumped up and took off. Like he was scared. He just left. He didn't stop to ask me any questions or anything. He just told me everything and then he was gone. And then a few weeks later, I was walking down the road and I was going by this church on a Sunday, and this energy sort of just wrapped around me. And the voice said, "Go in." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to go in this church. I don't want to have anything to do with this church." And I'm going, and this energy tugs at me again, and I'm like, "No." And I'm going a little further, and it pulls. It says, "Go in." So I go in, and I sit in the very last pew of the church. I'm sitting way, and all the people are way up in front, and they're all excited. Glory, hallelujah, and all this stuff. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, "Okay, why am I here?" And the preacher was up there, and he's talking to everybody. And he says, my wife has to share this story. There's somebody in this church that has to hear this story. So she gets up and she tells this story where she's laying by her husband at night. She's staring at the ceiling and she's saying prayers, and the ceiling disappears. And all of a sudden she's seeing the earth and she's seeing stuff and all kinds of stuff going on the planet and in the future and everything. Like there was just all these different things. I was like, "Oh my God, this is exactly the same thing." And I'm just like a little bit freaked out now, because here now is this preacher's wife telling me this. And then it was a few weeks after that, I bumped into this other person, and it was 3 times. And I'm like, "Okay, this is not me making this up. Somewhere out there, there's something showing this to other people, and they're receiving the same things that I am." And I asked for this to be proven. The universe proved me, so I stopped doubting or worrying or anything, because I know whatever is coming has nothing to do with me, because other people are receiving the same thing.
And you look at the length of time it took for those 3 to prove itself over a period of months. You know, things don't come like within the week, you know, all 3 proving things. So questioning things and having that really clear question, what is it that you're asking for? What do you want them to prove? Because the more clear you are with yourself, the more clear that you're going to receive your answers, and you're going to recognize that you have your answer.